Well, thank you. This is Casual Friday in South Carolina. And to all the panelists and to the people participating in this conference, God bless you. That's a good question. The Ukraine supplemental that we passed to give them more money and more aid and more military support had a requirement, Neil, for the Biden administration to present to Congress sort of a game plan. How does this thing end? So, as to Trump, I am confident that he will make sure this ends in a way not to create new wars. I would hope that's the Harris position. How does it end? We're not taking Moscow, they're not taking Kyiv. There will be a political settlement. And how that settlement plays out is the most important decision the world will make in the early part of the 21st century. So, Harris, Trump. The real question for me is what will we do to end this war and how will we end this war? If it's like 2014, where there will be a third invasion, we will have failed miserably. If it is seen that Putin was rewarded for this, there goes Taiwan. So I've talked to President Trump about your desire to end this war is noble. But how you end this war will be the most important decision the next American president will make, whether it's Harris or whether it's Trump. The decision to get out of Afghanistan, in my view, was ill-conceived and set in motion the invasion of Ukraine and a lot of other bad things in the world. It's not when we left Afghanistan that mattered the most to me, it's what we left behind. And what did we leave behind? The Taliban taking over the country, the rise of radical Islam, shaking allies throughout the world about our reliability. This is a mulligan in Trump terms. You have a chance to deal with an aggressor here. I'm not out to humiliate Putin, but I am out to make a statement that taking the land of others by military force is not a good way to behave. So what will Harris do? She's all in supporting Ukraine. I appreciate that. Well, let Ukraine use missiles to full effect. The problem I've got with the Biden administration is their rhetoric doesn't really match the resolve we need to get Putin to the table. Neil, he'll only come to the table when the pain is great. They oppose making Russia a state sponsor of terrorism. I think if anybody on the planet should be considered a state sponsor of terrorism, it would be Putin and Putin's Russia. So limiting the use of long-range missiles to hit legitimate military targets like air bases in Russia just sends the wrong signal. J.D. Vance talked about, some of the things that may happen as part of ending the war. I want to make sure that China sees that Putin made a mistake, that they're less likely to invade Taiwan because NATO held together. So where are we at? NATO is bigger. The Russian economy has been sanctioned, and Putin's an indicted war criminal. That narrative, I hope China is paying attention to. The fact that NATO's expanded and people are showing resolve is probably the man of the year for NATO should be Putin. He's done more to unite the alliance than any single person I know. Trump talks about ending the war. He didn't mention the word winning. And the reason I think that doesn't bother me is that winning has to be put in terms of what's your goal. My goal is that territorial integrity of Ukraine is honored, that whatever settlement we have about land will be seen as not rewarding Putin, that the likelihood of a third invasion is off the table. Learn from the 2014 agreement. If we don't move Ukraine toward NATO, that will be a mistake. If we don't have security guarantees, that would be a mistake. So I would wonder about what Harris would do. Would Harris allow more offensive capability? Would she accelerate the military capability that Ukraine needs to get Putin to the table? I don't know. Here's what I think Trump will do. He'll try to end the war. But if Putin insists upon a settlement that would basically set in motion Afghanistan on steroids, I think he'll tell Putin, I'm going to give Ukraine everything they need. So the American president, whoever he or she may be, is going to be an instrumental player in bringing this war to an end. I've been to Ukraine 6 times. I want to say this. We were briefed right after the invasion, Neil, that Kyiv would fall in 4 days and there'd be an insurgency throughout Ukraine and the whole country would collapse in 3 weeks. Here we are all these days later. Ukraine is still standing. They're fighting like tigers. Not one American has died. Not one American has been injured. This is the partner and ally I have been dreaming of for decades. Why am I so all in for Ukraine? I don't believe Putin will stop unless somebody makes him. I hope the next president understands that. Whether it's Harris or Trump, I hope you understand that Ukraine is doing the world a great service by stopping Putin before we get in a conflict with NATO. Putin said yesterday, I think, if you allow long-range weapons to be used against military targets inside of Russia, that we'll be at war with NATO. No, we won't. Don't let him make policy. Call his bluff. So, as to me as a Republican, if Trump wins, I will do everything I can to ensure that he understands that it's not when we win the war, it's how we end the war. That I want to stop the killing and I want to stop the bloodshed. But let's don't make the mistakes of 2014. Let's don't make this Afghanistan on steroids. Let's don't entice China to be more aggressive. So to my friends in Ukraine, I admire you. You need to start thinking about what is a good end for you. I'm looking to President Zelensky to give me some guidance as to what's acceptable. I've talked to him about it. I think I have a general idea of what he's going to announce in a week or two, Neil. And I'm hoping that he not only will talk to President Biden, but brief President Trump. And with that, I just want to thank you for the conference. Thank you for the attention. Probably the most